Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the anniversary edition of the Xbox Factor podcast. And it's not our anniversary. It is the 1 year anniversary of the announcement that Bethesda has joined Xbox Game Studios and, quite frankly, changed gaming forever. We're going to get some Halo flighting gameplay throughout this entire podcast to celebrate that, yes, the Halo flighting is happening this weekend. And you know what? Why not? Because it's my damn birthday weekend. So why not have the Halo flighting beta? As a matter of fact, Halo 3, folks, if you didn't remember, launched on September 25th. Yes, Mrs. Boom went to town. I got every Halo whatever that was available. It was basically, I even got a Halo cake, and I believe she has the pictures of it, which is pretty dope. And like she's pretty dope. But listen, this is a special podcast on a multitude of levels, because we have the anniversary of Bethesda, and we're going to be talking about that. We have confirmation that the Halo beta or the flighting is going to be happening this weekend. Check your emails, folks. I got mine this morning at 7:30. I'm just waiting for the other email, and I can't wait to play. Sadly, I don't know how much I'm going to play this weekend because I have family staying over. It's going to be a big birthday family celebration. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to sneak away, but I'm definitely going to try and get at least a couple of games in. But more so the fact that we have been invaded. This is the crossover of a lifetime, living split screen on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Both of those members, Pong Soul and, of course, Steel Rain, making his debut on this unbelievable day. First, we'll start with Steel Rain. How the heck are you, brother? And welcome.
Hey, look, man, it is I, and I am him, the one and only Steel Rain, and one half of that marvelous show that you call Living Split Screen, invading your Saturday mornings, your new Saturday morning cartoons, where we just keep it all about gaming and keeping it as a non-console centric platform, man. But with that being said, about me, man, I just been hanging out, man, work, getting to the games, and overall just enjoying life, man. I feel like that's some of the key things that you always have to pay attention to. A lot of people tend to lose sight of those things, but yeah, man, it's an exciting time to be within the Xbox Factor kingdom. I know we've been kind of working on this in the background a little bit, trying to work on shows and everything else, but it's an exciting time to be here with my brother Pong, here with Mav, here with Zemi, Mr. Boom himself, and then the fun speculative man himself. So it's an exciting time, man. I think we're going to have a marvelous Tuesday, and I can't wait to get into these topics. Again, Boom, with the amount of work that you put in on the back end, making sure that we're ready for the show and making sure that you're just ready for the show, man. It doesn't go unnoticed. Again, you're one of the biggest reasons why I joined this community, why I even decided to podcast. So
that's very kind of you, brother. I'm glad to have been a good influence, because this community is fantastic, and you are an amazing part of it. And we are better that you are here each and every week to represent the goodness in what the community actually means. And that's what you and Pong do each and every week, brother.
And I appreciate that. Hopefully everybody can see that, feel the passion, feel the energy, feel the vibes that I like to say that me and Pong overall bring, especially over the weekend. But I mean, it's shout out to y'all, man. Y'all continue to live through that light, and that's what's important to me too. So with that being said, let's get into it. It's going to be a wonderful day, and yeah, man, it's exciting. Let's go.
Yes, we'll definitely get into it. And we're going to talk next to Zemi Games, the cog that keeps this show running. He says, folks, he looks like Nosferatu. I beg to differ. I think he looks quite fine. He says his lighting is an issue. Folks, give this guy a thumbs up. His lighting is fine. Zemi Games, how the heck are you? And are you ready for Halloween? That happens next month.
Ooh. Halloween is like one of my most hated holidays, right? Because it's all about scary stuff. And what does Zemi not like? Zemi doesn't like scary stuff, right? So, and I'm trying to lose weight. So, the candy doesn't help anymore. And it's a terrible holiday. It's a terrible day. But I appreciate that some people like it. No, this light is not doing any favors for my skin complexion. It really is not. But anyway, super excited to be here, Boom. As always, can't wait to jump into these topics, man. So yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here, brother. Next up, we have Pong Soul. What's going on, brother? It feels like we haven't podcasted in a month, maybe, but it was just last week, and that's because we are brothers from another mother. How are you, brother? What you been up to?
Oh man, you know what, Boom? It does always feel that way, but that's why Tuesdays are so great because it's always special to wake up in the morning and know I'm getting here to podcast with you and Zemi, and of course, this morning, joined by my other brothers, Steel Rain and Mav, aka Fun Speculation. This is a great Tuesday. It doesn't get much better on Xbox Factor podcast, and of course, year anniversary of the ZeniMax deal. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
God Howard joins the family. That is a beautiful day that we will always remember. But yeah, no, man, it's been great. I've been doing a lot of work, obviously, and then getting some gaming in. Steel and I wrapped up Origami 1 a couple weekends ago, and now we've been rocking out on Origami 2 a little bit, which is dropped in the Game Pass. If you guys are looking for any type of like those old Tenchu vibes, go check out Origami 1 and 2. AA game, small team, but fantastic overall. Just a fun experience, especially in co-op. So that's what I've been doing, Boom. But man, great to see you all. It's awesome to be here. Chat, you guys are already looking amazing. Let's get into these topics, Boom.
Yeah, we have a couple of good ones. We have a serious one that I kind of want to touch on. It's wreaked its ugly head in social media, and of course, I'm talking about Activision and Blizzard. They have also we have new information that Bobby Kotick has been subpoenaed. He is going to be coming in for questioning regarding the accusations of files being destroyed. Their chief. One of their chief leaders, their from their legal team, has stepped down. She has left Activision Blizzard. She was there for 3 years. She comes from Google, and again, this is just adding to the long list of people that are being fired or let go for the sexual misconduct that's being accused of, and people just wanting to distance themselves from the madness that is currently Activision Blizzard. And we're going to get into it. We're going to, obviously I want to talk about it because Diablo 2 comes out next week, and that's a game that a lot of people are looking forward to. Mrs. Boom and I were looking forward to it. She is a big time isometric D&D type player. We played Baldur's Gate. We played Champions of Norath back in the days on the PlayStation 2, two of our favorite games of all time. And we were very excited to play Diablo 2 because we never played that game. So it was going to be a new experience for us. Mm-hmm. But because of the situation, we have decided as a couple, as two people, and she's not even a diehard gamer, that we refuse to line the pockets of Bobby Kotick and the rest of the board over at Activision Blizzard. And I understand that we're going to be getting into it. Is it fair? Is it fair for me to vote with my wallet when the team that actually made this game had nothing to do with the sexual misconduct? As a matter of fact, they weren't even named in the suit. And this, we're talking about Vicarious Visions. And the answer is, it's a tricky one, because if they're selling the game, I'm buying it. But if they're not selling the game, Activision Blizzard is the publisher, and I can't sit beside the couch with Mrs. Boom and feel comfortable knowing that this has gone on for years of sexual misconduct, and it was looked upon as, well, it's just the boys having fun. I'm sorry, folks. I have very high standards, and something, again, you don't want to hurt the people, but before we get into it, it's, we're going to start with that. And Steel Rain, I'm going to go to you first. I know you have a lot to say, but I have to welcome in Mav. First of all, Mav, thank you so much for joining us, brother. You are always and forever will be a part of this show, whether you hear 2 weeks in a row or you come once a month. You are someone that is an incredible member of the community. You and your wife put yourselves out there, and the positivity that you bring, not only with you two, but with the people on your panels, is very, very encouraging for the younger audience at large. And you know what? It's great to work with you each and every week that you're here. Welcome, bro.
Hey, thanks, Boom. I love when I can be here for the show. One of my favorite things to do. It makes the weekdays better. Right, just being here, hanging out with you and everybody, talking Xbox. There's a lot of fun stuff to talk about. I can't wait to talk about the 1 year anniversary of Uncle Todd
Yes.
coming
Yeah.
to the
God
family.
Howard.
You know,
he's
it's
Raise his name.
let's get into all this fun, awesome talk, Boom, and
Yeah, you know what?
steal Zimmy.
Yeah, let's get the nastiness, the medicine out of the way of the podcast. Listen, again, as a showrunner, I have the ability to call an audible.
Mhm.
This is something that I feel very passionate about, and got to shout out Drawn TJ, who was on the panel last night. He drops a,
Yes, good job,
a
actually.
$5. Thanks, brother. He drops a $5 super chat and says, "Good morning, Boom and panel. This is going to be a great show indeed, and thank you for being here. And of course, thank you for guesting last night. You did amazing. And of course, that invitation to anyone that would like to podcast. If you have a good mic and a working PC, and you want to kind of check that that checkbox off of the to-do list in your life, I can make that happen. And listen, everyone's entitled to get out there and talk about video games, and it's something that I did as a fan. And here we are. I got my own network of shows, and that could be you. So if you're interested and you want to join the conversation and you've never podcast before, it's okay. Boom is proud to unveil new voices to this community. It's something that I'm very happy to do. But listen, let's take off the gloves, folks. Let's get into the real skinny of the conversation. And of course, I'm talking about what has gone on the last 2 months at Activision. And of course, there has been numerous lawsuits regarding sexual misconduct, rate of pay going towards a specific brand of people, some people being out on this, a subset of people being lower paid because of whatever reason. There's a lot of human infractions that have gone on at Activision. And, listen, again, getting back to why we're talking about it, Diablo 2 Resurrected is a remaster of one of the most famous isometric D&D type games. As PC players know this game, they love this game. I'm not a PC guy, and Mrs. Boom and I were looking forward to this because she played Diablo 3 like crazy. She loved it. We played it for hours and hours and hours. And again, this is, if you don't know, this is the first game to release from Activision Blizzard since the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing filed a lawsuit against Activision Blizzard in late July, accusing it of failing to handle sexual harassment and discrimination complaints. Now, it must be noted, and I got to throw this out there, all right, because I would be a real crummy host if I didn't throw this out there. The game is being developed by Vicarious Visions, that studio. They are a New York-based studio. They were not, folks, and I repeat, were not implicated in the lawsuit. However, speaking to Axios, the studio's design director, Rob, I believe it's Gallerini, said that the allegations had still caused us as a company to review its process and ask its own employees how we can improve the work culture. And here is a quote from him. He says this: "It was definitely very troubling to hear these types of things regarding the misconduct allegations. And we really wanted to support our colleagues and our co-workers. We heard a lot of really positive things in our internal review, but I don't think that we're ever going to get a pass on that. We always need to keep asking." Steel Rain, let's go to you first, brother.
Yeah.
This is a hot topic. It's a topic that many other podcasts have not covered outside of a blurb. I feel proud and very honored to talk about something that I feel needs a conversation. And there are some people that listen, we're gamers. Like some of us don't look into the internals of these studios. As long as your favorite game comes out, you don't care about anything else. And if you're that type of gamer, that's perfectly okay. You're welcome here anytime. I feel a little bit different about that, but I want to get your opinion. Where do you fall on supporting Activision Blizzard moving forward with these ongoing lawsuits?
All right. It's an interesting time that we're in, man, especially with everything that we have going on, and then we hear this coming. And again, it's not like we just heard it coming. It's something that's always been on the back burner, kind of just been looked over, as you've stated, and as we keep continuously hearing. For me, and I've spoken with Pong about this several times, and we've kind of been on the opposite ends of the spectrum. But I also understand his point. I initially and still am of the mind that I am wary about investing into Diablo 2. I've already made my stance with Call of Duty. I haven't invested in Call of Duty in the last 2 years, 3 years, just because of the monotony. Not only that, they're not seemingly pushing themselves forward, and with everything that they have going on internally, that all makes sense, right? Activision isn't what they used to be. They used to be really hungry to get the attention and everything, and since they've kind of hit the top, they've kind of become monotonous, unfortunately. Now with that, Diablo 2 is a string that pulls very hard for me. It's one of the games that I played, well, one of my really first forays into PC gaming, really, that I took very seriously and dumped thousands of hours into when I probably shouldn't have at 8 years old in the year 2000, or 10 years old around that time when I started playing that game. Diablo 2 did things for me as far as like gaming goes, especially for like an isometric game, or like an RPG element kind of game, story wise and everything else, made me understand what games could be, the vastness, the fear of dying, having to run back and get your equipment and everything, because that's one of the main things that separates Diablo 2 from 3, is that it was a little more not necessarily gruesome per se, but it was a little more, I guess, for lack of a better term, realistic, as far as punishing you for dying. They didn't want you to die. But if you did die, guess what? You're gonna have to run naked and get your stuff back. And that could be a fight within itself, because you got to get around the monsters and everything. So needless to say, it was a very dynamic part of my life. And now to see it get remastered, I initially was like, yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm day one. I'm going to cop it. And then as all this information started coming out, I've kind of been I've been very off put by it, because it's those things that you kind of knew were going on in the background. You're like, I don't know. I don't, I hope the devs aren't part of that. Hopefully the devs are being treated right. Hopefully everything is going well. You got love for the game. So you just have all these hopes and everything. And then you see with someone like Bobby Kotick, who's at the top, and seemingly more and more is coming out as if he had no clue of what was going on, which again, me personally, I think is
BS, brother.
Yes,
let me tell you something.
I can't believe that.
Good leader of Steel Rain
mm-hmm.
knows what is happening in their home, in their house. And if you don't, that in itself is a problem.
Yeah, and I can understand from that perspective, and I can't think of the guy's name off top. I had it right there. But for the guy who owns the Mavericks, he had something going on. This is the basketball team. He had something going on with his team, and he didn't know about it. So it's one of those things to where, but he took full responsibility for it. That's the difference, right? Where I haven't seen Bobby Kotick come out and say, that I'm gonna take responsibility. We're gonna take care of it and make sure everything gets handled all the way down. It's kind of been one of those things like, I didn't know, and it's like, as someone who's at the top, you can't do that, because now you're represented in even more of a negative light. Like you said, Boom, this BS now at this point. Like, I can't believe that you just didn't know. It would have been better off of you saying, hey, I didn't know, but I would take responsibility for it, instead of just you shrugging your shoulders. 100%. And then now you have constant people walking away, leading more credence to what is going on behind the curtain. It's unfortunate to me that the curtain's finally being revealed at this point, because again, like one of Pong's main points, and he's probably going to end up touching on this, is that we shouldn't punish the devs, right? And it's like, I'm not looking at it as far as the perspective of punishing the devs. I'm looking as far as Activision just being the greedy selves that they are, and what's going to affect them more. Now, is me not buying the game going to do anything? Who knows? Probably not. It doesn't work any other time. Is it going to work this time? Who knows? But there seems to be enough people who are kind of up in arms about it that it may make a difference. And especially if Call of Duty doesn't hit this year, there may be a lot of changes that end up happening that need to happen, because it's been something that needed to be in the works for a long time. I'm still kind of on the edge about it, just because of the passion I have for Diablo 2. Diablo 3 is also an amazing game. Just for Diablo overall, I have this place in my heart for it. And I would hate to have to skip over the game just because of what's going on. Again, I'm still kind of along those fences when you tell me 8-player co-op, you tell me the brother from another got other homies that are willing to jump into the game with me, an experience that I didn't have previously, that wasn't available previously. And it's taken up to that next level. It's like, man, I'm sitting on this pendulum that I don't know which way to swing just yet.
It's a tough conversation to have internally and vocally, for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, 100% is, but we're doing the right thing with having these conversations. It's like me and Paul talked about last Saturday, is that the most important part is that we keep bringing it up, right?
Yes.
Even if you do invest into it, even if you do buy the game, to keep bringing it up, because this is not a conversation that should die. This is a conversation that no matter what, even if you go buy Diablo when it comes out, or even if I go buy Diablo, this isn't a conversation that's just going to die after that. This is Diablo 2 you did great on this remaster and all, but what are you doing on the back end? What are you doing to make sure everybody within your company is being treated fairly? Being treated right, being treated ethically, being treated with fairness. Like, these are all things that we're paying attention to as people who are invested within the community and within the ecosystem. And I feel like we should continue to bring light to. So as long as we don't forget that, I feel like that's the bigger picture.
And I don't think I could have actually said that any better, to be honest with you. I think that was a fabulous take on it. And Pong, let's get you in on the conversation. You obviously have you work with Rain on a regular basis, which is awesome. Obviously on Saturday mornings, and you've had your opinion out there in the open, and I love you for it. I understand, like, hurting the devs. Vicarious Visions weren't even named in the lawsuit, so they had nothing to do with it. They just happened to work with or for Activision Blizzard. It is a tough conversation. There is no easy answer, because 50% of me wants to support the devs that made this game, because if the game doesn't hit, maybe they're out of a job, right? So we who are we really trying to hurt here? But then the other part of me is, my wife is invested in the channel. She's invested in my presence in YouTube. Now, she has an on the back behind the scenes presence. Everyone knows Mrs. Boomstick. They don't know her personally, but for me as a husband, as someone that looks at as my wife is 100% equal, usually I always consider her to be the better half of me, no doubt about it. I feel a little weird about buying this game, because it's not Vicarious Visions that's making the money. It is Activision Blizzard, and that's the other half of me saying that I honestly can't support this, because I'm lining Kotick's pockets, and Bobby Kotick is, his salary last year was nothing. It was egregious, and you know what? I want to see him and his board members hurt, and I understand that. One dumb guy with a microphone not buying the game may or may not make a difference, but there may be, 1, 2, 3 million people who feel the same way I do and say, listen, I just can't support it. And then, yes, as we make one voice together, we are making change, because they are going to feel the hurt. Where do you fall on this, Pong?
Yeah, there's no, for me at least, again, there are some people out there who think this is a black and white situation, and that there is
it's not
clear sides. For me, it's not. For me, there's a lot of gray here. Okay. I respect everybody's decision when it comes to this, right? If you want to speak with your wallet, 100%, I am behind you. That is your choice. Absolutely.
Right.
I do take the perspective personally that I'm not going to punish the good people over there. That my purchase itself is more, it's more important to the individual devs who may be getting bonuses based upon performance than it is in the big picture of somebody like Bobby Kotick. Bobby Kotick needs to go. Okay, flat out. Okay, that needs to be
100% agree with that.
No, this cancer has gone on long enough. But my feeling is that the legal processes, the pressure put on with all of these lawsuits, both externally and internally now, are going to be the downfall of him. Those are going to be the ones that bring the true change, right? So for me, that process needs to happen, and it is ongoing as we speak. And as you talked about, Boom, the SEC has stepped in. Now, the SEC doesn't do a whole lot of generally speaking, they don't do a whole lot of changes within a company. They don't force changes. What they do is do a lot of fining, though.
Mhm.
Eventually, it has to get to the point where Bobby Kotick's leadership is more of a risk for the board than it is a net positive, right? We saw them report record profits and still cut dev jobs, right?
Yeah, that's a great. You know what? That's a fantastic point. They had record when they did that, Pong, and they let 300 people. Go.
Yep. Correct.
And they reported publicly, hey, we made this much money.
Right.
Ridiculous.
And they need to make next gen games $70 on top of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is the garbage. And again, let's say that we all woke up as the entire community, every single gamer agreed not to buy a game, right?
Mhm.
Or 2 games, Call of Duty and let's say Diablo 2. Absolutely. Would that force some change? Absolutely it would. And I get that. That is the power of the masses. Is that a realistic thing that's going to happen? Absolutely. Of course not. It's not. People are going to continue to buy. The people who are not involved in the industry like we are, that look at it on a daily basis, that watch the news, they may never even hear about this stuff going on. Right? They don't care. They walk into their store or go on their digital, storefront and purchase Call of Duty, right? Or purchase Diablo 2. They never know what's going on in the background because they just don't care. And that's fine. There's people out there who don't know what's going on in the daily news, right?
Mhm.
People don't pay attention to it like we do. So from my perspective, again, I'm not going to be I will be purchasing. I already pre-ordered a Diablo 2 Resurrection, but I understand both sides of this thing. I just think that the bigger processes that are in play right now are they're going to be the ones that actually make the difference in the end run. Look, Ubisoft had similar accusations against them.
Indeed.
Right?
Yeah.
Do we hear anybody?
And they're still battling those
Right.
accusations as we speak.
Right. Do we hear anybody talking about them? Did people
No.
stop buying Assassin's Creed when it came out? No. People have already forgotten. So, as Steele and I have discussed multiple times in Living Split Screen, Steele and I, from my perspective, I have said that every time I talk about an Activision Blizzard game that we bring it up, I'm going to remind everybody of what's currently happening so that people don't forget. That's going to be my response, is to make sure that people are reminded yet again, this is still ongoing. And this is something that we have to be aware of, and that we do have to make sure that changes go through. Now, again, more impactful is going to be from the inside. And we see the employees banding together, and Activision Blizzard is not doing themselves any favor by playing mafia and going after people and threatening people and trying to union bust. Okay, they're not doing themselves any favor. They're going to be their own downfall internally, right? Because they are making some stupid mistakes. But I'm going to continue to remind people every time I talk about these games that this is ongoing. And I think that's the most important thing from my perspective, from my opinion, of what I can do with a voice when I have a show, and I'm on multiple shows, that I can make sure that I do that each and every time. So, that's what I'm going to try to carry forward here. Again, for me, it's a big gray area. I respect everybody and what they want to do. Totally understand, totally get both sides of it, and what people are saying. Again, I just want to make sure that we keep it in the forefront of everybody's minds, that it doesn't go away like the Ubisoft stuff did, right? That's the main problem, is that we're always on to the next shiny thing. And if you're going to take a stand, it's fantastic. Just make sure you don't, 6 months from now, a year from now, forget about that stand and forget about what's going on, and, not say something about it, or at least remember that it's ongoing, and make sure that when you have an opportunity to speak out about it, to do so. And that's what I'm going to do for myself. So again, appreciate everybody and what they've got going on. It's just that this is my choice. This is what I'm doing instead.
Yeah.
So
I mean, listen, again, this is a conversation and a decision that is not, there's multiple planes here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It is hard. It is, again, I'm voting with my wallet. You don't want to hurt the devs. And you made a great point about incentives. Some of these devs get paid bare minimum, and their back end is where they make their money. A lot of people don't know that. This is based on score. This is based on Metacritic. This is based on response and sales and a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. But again, I will say this publicly, and I'm going to come to Zemi Games next on this. When Bobby Kotick is removed from his position and he is relieved of the responsibility of overseeing this company is when I will come back to the table and have a conversation of whether or not I want to continue supporting Activision Blizzard. I think that they've made some big changes. All of the leadership that were found out to have a Bill Cosby room. I think that's really what did it for me. I mean, listen, look, I'm not going to throw the law enforcement aspect of my being, because even though I'm retired, I'm always going to be a cop. Like, if something happens in front of me, even if it matters that I'm going to get hurt or potentially killed, I'm jumping into action, bad back and all, because I'm just bred that way. That's how my father raised me. Because I'm retired doesn't mean I forget what the law is, right? I swore in back in '94 to uphold, and protect the people, and I'm going to do that even if I'm retired. And seeing this from a law enforcement's point of view, it nagged at me so much, dude. Like, it really bothered me. And then, of course, on the human aspect of it, like I said, I was like, I feel gross. If I would have bought the game, I would have felt dirty, straight up. But that's me. And again, everyone is entitled to their opinion. And again, for me, if the question is asked, when will you ever support Activision? The answer is yes, at some point when Bobby Kotick is removed. And I think that you made a great point, Pong, that yes, he is going to come into the conversation of, is he a risk? Is Bobby Kotick a risk to keep as the front face of the company? I got to be honest with you. If I'm on the board, I'm voting, Bobby, you got to go, brother, because I want to continue making money and you're hurting that. So I think that his friends, or so-called friends, they're going to wind up voting him out, and it's going to be a good day. I will throw confetti out the window for sure. Zemi Games, let's get your opinion on this. Again, this is not an easy subject to talk about. There are lots of steep hills and valleys in this conversation. Where do you personally sit with what has happened and what continues to transpire with the mass exodus of many key positions within Blizzard and Activision?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest. Like, I really have not been following it as much as you guys have. I've been reading the headlines and seeing the stuff. I haven't really been reading a tremendous amount of articles. Honestly, I've just been playing a lot of games. But it's not improving. It's definitely looking worse and worse and worse for Activision Blizzard. There continues to be a ton of pressure put onto the game publisher. And it's, it sounds like it's mostly deserved, right? They ignored, basically calls of help from their employees, right? They shouldn't have done that. And so now there's consequences. As far as for me personally, because everybody's kind of touched on, whether or not they're going to be buying Diablo. As far as me purchasing the game, I'm not going to purchase the game, but I wasn't going to purchase the game anyway. I'm just not a Diablo fan. Call of Duty, however, I most certainly am going to purchase day one, because I'm just a huge Call of Duty fan. And the way I kind of view the whole, decision of, should we purchase the game, should we not, is, ultimately it's just kind of up to, each and every consumer to, look at that product and look at the company and decide, with a whole host of different reasoning, whether or not they want to purchase that game. And, I personally think it's okay for people to go purchase Diablo 2 or the next Call of Duty or whatever Activision Blizzard game, insert name here. I think it's okay to purchase those. I also think it's perfectly okay not to purchase those. I think ultimately it's just meant to, for the consumer. And I get the people that don't want to purchase it for, obvious reasons. I 100% get those people. For me, I don't think not purchasing the game is going to really impact Activision or Blizzard at all. Right. I just don't think it's going to happen. And so often, gamers kind of all stand up and say, hey, we're going to go boycott this game. And typically a true boycott never even happens. Right. It's really, really hard to do in this industry where, every consumer has very, very strong emotional connections to the games that we play, to the software that these companies sell. It's really hard for, a gamer or any, consumer to kind of say, hey, I'm not going to buy this game because of, because of the evil things that this company is doing, right? Which kind of leads to, the whole, I guess, difficulty of answering that question of whether or not we're going to purchase it, right? I think, Boom, you said that you were like 50-50, you're on the fences. I think it is a hard decision, but for me personally, I just don't think that doing any form of boycotting is going to help, the situation. I don't think it's going to hurt Activision, almost any, and in some ways, I just kind of think it's a waste of time. So for me personally, I'm going to be purchasing whatever games I want. I don't think that there's any problem for people to not purchase them or to purchase them. I think the biggest problem that I'm, kind of hoping that I'm not going to see, but I kind of think I'm going to see at least at some level, is people attacking other people for whatever their decision may be. I think that's really
that could be a situation. But I want to politely remind everybody that if someone decides against, like myself and Rain, not buying anything from them, we are entitled as consumers to do that, and we should not be held
absolutely
to the flame. And I say that for both you and Pong, because you guys have decided that you are going to buy a game, a franchise that you love, because you don't want a specific developer or developers being hurt by it. I honestly, there should be no harm, no foul on that. Again, this is not a black and white situation. This is not an easy conversation to have, but I feel that we're doing a good job. And I hope that those conversations, Emmy, do not transpire, because then what that does is completely remove the point of why we're all talking. It moves the focus away from what they did to us fighting with each other. And I don't want to see that happen.
Yeah, I don't either. And that was kind of just going to be my final point. I don't want it to happen either. I like I said before, it's okay if you want to buy the game. It's okay if, you don't want to buy the game. But for me personally, it's not okay if you want to attack people for whatever decision they, decided to choose. 100%. And I hope that we don't see it. But with, today's society, with online, culture and social media, I think that, best case scenario is that we only see it a little bit. Right. And that's going to kind of just be where I end at.
I mean, strong points. Matt, let's get your opinion on this. Obviously, you do a lot of multiplayer stuff with a lot of people that are on your podcast, which is awesome. You also do a lot of Twitch streaming. Diablo 2 would make a great Twitch stream cast for sure. Where do you personally sit on the fence on whether to support or not support, or devs being hurt or board being hurt?
First off, I want to say everybody has a right to feel how they want to about this thing.
100%.
Right?
Yes.
I saw the super chat come through, right? That from somebody, and that they have a right to that opinion as well, right? Mm-hmm. Personally, anybody's decision on this is a personal take, right? Based on their own thoughts, their own experiences, their own thought processes of how they see things, right? Isolating people out as having certain values because they make decisions and not respecting them anymore because of this is just like a completely horrible take, and it's actually just making the entire situation worse.
Exactly. That's like saying, oh, that fits right in. I don't mean to interrupt you, Mav, but because I saw that and it feels the same way as you saying that because you're not playing a specific system, you're a problem.
Yeah,
that's how it comes across.
Here, when I think of voting with your wallet, because ultimately that's what this is. It's like voting with your wallet. People think of buying a game as an endorsement of bad practices all of a sudden, right? Mm-hmm. What Activision has done and what their companies are have been accused of and everything is horrible. We can almost everybody, I would think, it has a sane and right mind would agree upon that. Mm-hmm. But to say because you purchase a game, you endorse said activity, or
Yeah, see I would absolutely have to disagree with as well, Mab. I mean, listen again. Some people want to be a part of the of the conversation by simply saying, "I bought Call of Duty and I'm enjoying playing with my friends." And if you are that gamer, that is okay. Again, I think that there are a lot of interweb weaving going on specifically in this conversation. And there are also different types of gamers in the world. There are gamers like us who are podcasters. Like I read 50 articles a week to educate myself. So when I'm speaking, I don't sound like a boob, right? I write these topics and I put my heart and soul into them because I want them to be a professional show that people come back to. Because I do so much reading, I have a vested, opinion on what's going on. And again, this is not. And I don't think it's hard to suggest that one side is right and wrong here. And again, I mean, let me read the super chat. Now, obviously, Philly Eagle's a good friend of this show.
Oh yeah, facts.
A good friend of this community, and he's absolutely very entitled to his opinion, and he's not wrong for suggesting so. He says, after dropping an outstanding and ridiculous $10 super chat, he says, let me just find it. I just lost it. My God, YouTube, you suck sometimes. Here we go. Being able to take a stance is a testament of character. If you play this year's Call of Duty of Diablo 2, you've lost my respect as a person. Sorry, not sorry. Respecting women is more important than Call of Duty. And again, I agree with it at the same point. It's hard to look, the villains, folks. I want this to be clear, and I'm so glad we're having this panel because we have an incredible amount of strong men on this panel today, and we have an incredible over 300 people here listening to us talk. The community at large is not the devil, right? Whether you're the savior. Whether you choose to vote with your wallet like me and not buy it doesn't make me any better than or less more important in the conversation than someone who says, but I just kind of want to play Call of Duty, boom. And you know what? Drawn TJ last night, already made his first debut. He's like, listen, I really love Call of Duty. It's my favorite franchise, and I'm gonna buy it. Does that make him the devil? I would say no, it doesn't, because he just wants to play Call of Duty. But again, I think that what is happening, the conversations that we're having, maybe not this podcast, because it's a tiny channel, and I don't think anyone at Activision actually gives a shit what I say. But I think that because we're having this conversation, we're taking a good portion of today's show to talk about it, because we're going to get into the anniversary, which is going to be the fun part. But I really needed to talk about this. And again, I hope everyone is enjoying it. But please, by all means, continue.
Yeah, no problem. My thing is, okay, so we want change. I think we all want change with Activision.
100%. Absolutely.
Right. That's something we can all agree on. We all agree on this. Does somebody playing a game mean that they don't care or that they are endorsing the activities of a company? Because there's people out there with the opinion that they lose respect now, right? As it was that comment of people who do so as if they're siding with the company, right? This is not a thing of like consumer taking sides here, right? This is not a thing where people need to take sides and look at other people poorly for whatever decision that they make, right? I 100% respect anybody that votes with their wallet or whatever. Personally, for me, in this case, if somebody doesn't respect me anymore because I purchase this game, then that's okay, because that's her opinion. But I will buy the game because I'm just a guy that wants to play a video game.
All right.
And I want to play this game because I've been looking forward to it. And I loved Diablo 2 back in the day. I played it on a horrible PC where the game could barely run, right? I could barely get that thing to run. And I never got to play it with any friends or anything because that's just what I had at the time. And when they announced Diablo 2, was getting this resurrected version, and I was going to get to play it on the Xbox Series X with up to 8 friends. I got crazy excited about it. Does this
I agree.
hamper
Yeah, so did I.
my-
Before this was before the storm that is the sexual misconduct and human violations of pay and everything. I went to my wife immediately and said, "Honey, we're gonna get a chance to play Diablo 2." She goes, "Yeah, well, I never played that." I'm like, "Exactly, we never played that, and that's coming to consoles." And honestly, it pained me to say, "Yeah, I can't do it." But you know, your excitement is because you are a fan. This is something that you have a connection to. So it's not easy. Like, hey, I'm just not buying it because Bobby Kotick's a dick, because he is. And like I said, I will return supporting them when they remove him, and hopefully he jams himself up with lies on the stand when he's subpoenaed, and he ends up going to prison. But you know, that's your
and Bobby Kotick's always been a dick, and he's going to continue to be a dick whether he gets subpoenaed or he's not part of Activision or not. So hopefully he's not part of it anymore. And this has gone federal now.
Federal,
right?
correct?
Now,
Yes, indeed.
Now this is federal. You've moved beyond state to a federal level. It's getting real, right? It is getting extremely serious. And if you think that there's not going to be effective change at Activision after they're being federally investigated, that is going to happen. There is going to be significant change there. More is going to happen. The problem is they didn't handle this properly the second this information came down.
Right.
Like Steel Rain alluded to the fact of the Mavericks and what happened with Mark Cuban. It took him a week to completely. He went and stood in front of national news and sat down on an interview and answered direct questions to an anchor, and then immediately hired somebody to completely take control of the operations and change the complete culture of the organization.
Yep.
All within 1 week.
Yes.
What is happening now? Defensive things. Possibly getting rid of evidence. All these other things. The way they are handling it is absolutely horrible, and we need to speak on this stuff. But I'm going to play Diablo 2.
And
because I want to play a video game, right?
And you're not, and you know something. That here's the thing: you're not wrong for it. Again, this is a very slippery slope. With there is not an easy answer here. If it was easy, then it wouldn't matter. Easy things normally don't, right?
Yeah. And then one more, I gotta add something.
Please, by all means, Matt, continue.
Because so when I'm looking at this, Activision is a big, greedy, sleazy company, right? We all can agree on that right now as well. I think
100%.
When they are looking at their books and the results after this game doesn't sell as well as they anticipated, do you think they're going to look at it, oh, I think this was because of our fault, because of how we're handling things? Or do you think they're going to look at it as, hey, this game didn't sell well, or this dev didn't make a game that's selling well? Do you think Activision is going to look at themselves in the mirror and say, hey, this was because of our culture? Right. No, they're gonna say, hey, maybe we're not going to make things like this in the future. Or also, we're not going to hire this developer anymore. And if that happens, guess what? These people may not get to make other games. The people at Activision right now want to keep their jobs.
Yeah,
you're right. They don't want to not be at work. I don't want Activision to fail as a company. I want them to change,
to do better. Yeah,
and I want them to change. And I think the legal matters that are happening and taking place right now are going to hopefully force that change, and people speaking on it, and like Pong said, not letting people forget about it and keep bringing it up. But somebody like me who's been wanting to play Diablo 2 in a good way ever since, what is it? How long has it been? 20 years? I don't know. I don't think that's going to make a big difference. So that's just where I stand on it. And we'll see, where it goes from here. But I hope changes take place. I really do.
Well, you know something. I think at this point, it's pretty much not if, it's just when. I use the same analogy to Microsoft buying another publisher. It's not about if they're going to do it, because we know they're going to do it. It's just about when they're going to make the announcement. And at some point, Pong, what an amazing point that the board that makes the decisions, this group of very rich men and women, for that matter, it's not just the men on the board, I'm sure, are going to have to look upon Bobby Kotick as being either still a good leader or a liability. And I think that it's safe to assume, again, I'm going to make an ass out of me, not you, that it could potentially be, yeah, him being in charge still is sending a terrible message. People are talking. We are losing stock prices. People are not buying the games like they should. And he has become a liability to the company. And we know what they do with liabilities. They send them off. They send them to Hades. And that is where he is going to go. But listen, he is not going to go quietly. And more importantly, he's going to get a buyout package that's probably more money than 1 million people here will ever see if we grouped our salaries together for 1 year. So he is still going to win. The scumbag, pardon my French, is still going to win because he's going to be bought out and he's still going to be a millionaire and he's not going to still give a flying F like he didn't initially. But at least, we are going to have this conversation. And we took the time, 50 minutes of today's show to break down something that I felt that was entirely important and worthy of the conversation. But now we're going to move on, folks, to why we are here. And that is celebrating the 1 year anniversary of Bethesda becoming first party, folks. This was, I'll get everyone's opinions on what that means. And we're going to attack this from a past, a present, and a future kind of scenario. And everyone has the show notes. I penned the script that way because I want to talk about what it meant when it was announced, what it means today, and what it is going to mean in the future for Xbox Game Studios. And quite frankly, with one fell swoop, Phil Spencer and the team at Xbox at Redmond, of course, with Satya Nadala's assistance, completely removed from the conversation. Xbox has no games. This is something that was a running narrative for an entire generation. And to be fair, they had some games, but they kind of seem to be short on first party, and that has completely been wiped away, literally with a couple of big purchases. And if you look back to 2018 E3, post 2018, when Phil got out there and said, "Yeah, we bought these 5 studios and we're making the first quadruple A studio," and you look at this, the Bethesda deal, Microsoft has turned itself around, unlike anyone could have ever expect. To be honest with you, but let me continue with the super chats, and we'll get into the fun part of today's conversation. Gerald Mack, generous friend of the show, drops a $10 super chat and says, "As a man of integrity, I have to say no to Activision. I cannot support a company who turns a blind eye to the mistreatment of women. I couldn't look my wife or mother in the face if I did." Well said, sir. Space Dovigan drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "Not an easy topic, but you can't be with God and the devil at the same time. That's all I'm going to say." That's a very powerful opinion, my friend, and one that, again, it's one of those. This is a conversation that I don't envy anyone else taking on, but I feel that that I have enough confidence not only in myself but this panel to make this conversation worthy. And
Boom, I just don't think anybody should be afraid to say they want to buy a game.
Listen, I'm right.
You know
there
what I
with
mean?
you. Yeah, 100%. I don't want to see us turn on each other. I think the company wins, folks. You got to look at it from that point of view, please. If you don't agree with someone buying the game, that is okay. But to villainize them, I got to be honest with you. I don't necessarily agree with that. Again, some people just want to play a game. Some people have a connection for Call of Duty because it's the first online game they played. Some people like Mav have a connection to Diablo 2 because that's, it's personal. He grew up with it, so he grew up with that. He wants to experience it in the best way possible. So again, not an easy topic, but one that I'm so happy and proud that we had this conversation today. Philly Eagle drops an additional $5 super chat and says, "Don't misinterpret my stance as hatred." I'm glad you sorted that out, Philly. Thank you for that. I don't hate anyone. It's a stance. If there's an issue with my stance, we can talk about it. I'm all for it. And thank you for that, brother. Definitely appreciate that. Dan the Man Cunningham, brother, welcome to the show. He says, after dropping a $5 super chat, boom, wait it out and buy it used. That way you deny Activision the cash. You don't, so you don't go without. That's an interesting theory. But I'm hoping that by the new year, this has gotten so hot that they're going to have to remove Bobby. He's going to have to step down willingly or otherwise. And they're going to make it seem as if he's just stepping down to be a good man. He's just going to be removed from power. And I think that is something to watch, especially now that he has been subpoenaed federally. That's a big deal, folks. And I'm sure that he is scared AF because that if he's caught with perjury, he'll go to jail. He will go to jail. Crazy Lou drops an outstanding $10 super chat. Thank you for the generosity, and thank you for being here, Crazy Lou. Or Liu, I think it is. Yeah, that's a Liu. Activision Blizzard is not the enemy. It's the people who are doing the harassing. They will pay the price for it. There are still good people working there. And yes, I agree on the change. And yes, there is. Yes, there are great people that still work there. And unfortunately, they have been thrown under the umbrella because right now, it is the company that everyone hates, and if you work there, people think that you had something to do with it when you really didn't. It's a very tough situation. Space Dovkin drops an additional $5 super chat and says, "If your actions don't live up to your words, you have nothing to say." Indeed, strong point. But listen, I want to bring into the conversation Zemi Games. He is the cog that keeps this show running. One of the biggest fans of the brand that now is known as a Microsoft first party. He was a part of the conversation when this was announced. I actually reposted that podcast that had King David, myself, I believe it was Mr. Badbit and VJ on that panel. And if you missed out on it, go check it out. It's a great retrospect of what happened that day, which of course was September 21st, 2020. We are now here 1 year later. Zemi, I'm interested to get your opinion on what this meant for Microsoft then, but more importantly, what it means now and what it means in the future for Xbox Game Studios, that God Howard is now really a part of Xbox Game Studios, and he's making some big decisions as he represents Bethesda GameWorks.
Praise be his name.
Amen.
Boom, I was actually thinking back, like whenever I read your tweet today, I was like, I started like remembering it. And if I'm not mistaken, I was in my bed with just underwear on. And
Where's this going? Wait.
It's not going off a cliff. Let him keep going.
Okay.
Let him keep
not going anywhere nasty, okay? This man,
I was
Boom,
on Xbox Ultimate for a minute.
He calls me and he tells me that Microsoft just acquired Bethesda, and I was like, he just woke me up. I was delirious, and I couldn't believe it.
I was calling everybody.
I think Boom had to say it to me like multiple times for it to sink in, and
Yes.
and then we came onto the show.
Yes.
Yeah. Huge news for Xbox. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, at the time, that was, I mean, there's still people there saying Xbox has no games, right? There's always going to be idiots. But at the time, like that was really, really popular, like even more so then than now. And by them acquiring Bethesda, it just kind of put silence into all those, into all those words. It's like people could still say it, but it was completely meaningless after Microsoft purchased, Bethesda. And one of the things that has me most excited about it is that, whenever Microsoft acquires any studio, it gives that studio the money and the resources to make their games even better, right? Are you still laughing about the underwear?
I'm laughing because a good friend of the show, Safe Space Invader, says this: I just stripped down to my underwear at work for Zemi.
Good. Okay. No, that was not necessary. Me saying I was in my underwear painting that picture for people probably wasn't necessary either. I apologize.
But it was funny. It's
everyone.
good podcasting, sir. So please continue.
Yeah. But Bethesda, ZeniMax just in general, they were having a lot of financial problems, right? And the great thing about Microsoft picking up Bethesda is that now they don't, or they shouldn't have any financial, issues going forward and creating their games and so on and so forth. And so that's the really exciting thing. Today, we all have like these amazing, amazing games to look forward to. And not just only do we get to look forward to them, we know that in the future, they're all going to go into Xbox Game Pass, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas previously, all these amazing games would have probably still happened. Starfield was probably still going to happen. Elder Scrolls, of course, was still going to happen. Deathloop, all these games were still going to come out, in their same probably state. But now all of them come into Game Pass day and date, and that is huge. Another thing to remember though too is at the time, whenever this news first hit, it was right before the consoles, came out and went on sale, right? Which was absolutely just huge news. Just how Xbox is going to be able to leverage Bethesda going in the future. Whenever holiday comes and, the next Elder Scrolls is about to drop, or even next year, whenever Starfield's about to drop, having a special edition Starfield-like Xbox console will do great, to push the numbers of sales. Just overall, one of Xbox's or Microsoft's biggest problems all of last generation was that they really did not have a tremendous number of excellent first party or just exclusive games. And with Bethesda, they got just an incredible host of amazing, talented, and beloved studios that are known for making fantastic games. And it's still impressive today. I think one of the things I said during that show, whenever we had it last year, was that this is the biggest gaming related acquisition in history, like to this point. And I still 100% believe that today. It for sure is the biggest acquisition, at least in my mind, just off of, the size of the company, but more importantly, the amount of love that gamers have to this, to ZeniMax's intellectual property, to their franchises, to their games.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't think you're wrong in saying so. There has never been an acquisition within gaming, within our space, that has been so monumental, so industry changing, because again, you have to look at Microsoft before the announcement had an incredible amount of games from their first party in development. Obviously, Halo from 343, you obviously have Obsidian making Avowed, you have Ninja Theory making Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2. The list just goes on and on of how many games that were currently in development. So even without them, they would have been, I think, still a part of the conversation. But when you turn around and you add Bethesda ZeniMax to your stable of first-party developers, it literally changed the game, and there was no pun intended.
It's the knockout punch of acquisitions so far.
Yeah, right? And great analogy, because I absolutely agree with that. It did something for Microsoft that they were battling for many, many years, almost an entire generation, and that was the fact that they didn't have enough first-party output, if we remember, and that is no longer the case. Anyone caught saying Xbox has no games, block them immediately, because they're just knuckleheads. What they're doing is doing this. Red flag, I'm a boob. Block me, please, because that conversation that ship has left.
Yeah, they should just put a red ball on their nose and just walk around and be a bozo.
And call
that's literally what
clown. I love it. And I definitely think you're onto something for sure. Let's get our guest in here. Steel Rain. Last year at this time, I before the announcement, I was visiting my mom, and I was getting ready to go, and I started getting pings. And I had to lower my phone because I'm like, Mom, all right, Mom, I'll see you later. I'm walking down the hallway, and I have 17 DMs, and I'm like, oh shit, did I do something wrong? Did I say something incorrect? Maybe on a podcast, people are like, boom, what the hell did you do? And that would never happen. But you know what? You got to ask these questions sometimes. And I started getting DMs from everyone. Bethesda first party. Microsoft just bought Skyrim, and I said, wait, hold on. So I went to my favorite place to get news, and sure enough, look, I'm getting goosebumps, folks. I'm getting goosebumps talking about this. And I went running, and I don't run anymore because of my back. So I went almost at a sprint to my truck. I called Zemi, got him up out of bed in his underwear and everything. Called King David, left a yelling message at King David, called Cognito, spoke to Enrique from Basement Arcade Radio, almost on a whole conversation on the way home, like, boom, I can't believe this happened. Is this real? And I'm like, yeah, dude, they bought them. All of these games are going to be first party. And I remember doing that podcast, and it was, after it was done, I felt like I took a victory lap. Because I support and proudly support all the consoles. I'm playing Animal Crossing every night with the missus. I just bought Kena or Kena. I'm not sure how we say it anymore. Because that game looks like a masterpiece, and I said that was one of my most anticipated indies. But for an Xbox fan who had to endure not only the community's wrath last generation, it wasn't fun to be an Xbox fan. Specifically with the games media, for that matter. They took it upon themselves to take a PlayStation stance, and that's just the way it went. And it was kind of shitty, to be honest with you. And now they have to eat crow because they have to be friends to Microsoft, because Microsoft has a lot going on. I'm not saying Sony doesn't, Nintendo doesn't, but they certainly have it better than both of those companies. By leaps and bounds, not even making trying to be facetious in any way. Steel Rain, where were you? What more importantly, what was that announcement? What did it mean to Xbox then? What does it mean to Xbox now? But more importantly, what does it mean in the future of Xbox Game Studios?
I'm probably going to end up taking the obvious take here, but what did it mean to Xbox then? And for Xbox at that time, when they made the acquisition or were working on the acquisition at the time, I believe for me, from what I've always noticed from Microsoft, it was a play to let their consumers know that they are not playing about gaming being a pillar of Microsoft. Not just some side project, not just, hey, there's the Xbox division and we do Windows over here. No, this is a pillar of our ecosystem. This is something that this $7.5 billion is not just for Arcane, ZeniMax Online, Bethesda Game Studios, ID Software, Machine Games, Obsidian, and the whole ZeniMax umbrella itself. It's not just for that. Yeah, everything coming in with it, along with the Orion Tech and everything. Oh, that's great and everything. But it was a move to show the people that we hear you and we're looking to take this seriously. If you didn't think we took it seriously before, this is the move to show you that we are not playing. We are now undeniably the king of WRPGs.
Yes, indeed.
Period. If you are going to play a WRPG, you have to have Game Pass. Period. At this point forward, and that's what it means today. It's a stable now. It's one of those things where you just didn't grab a Spider-Man or something to that nature. You didn't just grab one IP. You grabbed multiple IPs from the list.
Iconic IPs at that.
Iconic. I mean, we're talking about Dishonored, Prey, Wolfenstein, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Doom, Quake. You got IPs within this that are iconic, that have been iconic over the last 2 decades almost. Yeah. For me personally, where was I at when this announcement happened? I was probably just chilling at my house, drinking a smooth cup of coffee. And when Paul told me God Howard is finally under the Microsoft umbrella, and I was like, oh man, that's exciting news. Me personally, I've never been the biggest fan of anything that's coming out of the ZeniMax umbrella. For me, Microsoft has always won me over as far with the service side, with multiplayer gaming, with the competitive nature of it all. That's what has always invested me into the Xbox ecosystem. So to see the opposite side of the spectrum to know that the multiplayer side has always been taken care of as far as just like when it comes to gaming and everything, to now see the opposite side of the spectrum come in where your single player games are now being taken into consideration, where we're getting more of that on this side. It's not just the dude bro box anymore, or it's not just the multiplayer box anymore, or me and my buddies had this perspective at one time that ideally why Xbox gamers are, or at least on multiplayer, are better than PlayStation players, because we have to pay for our ecosystem, right? Whereas like now it's kind of evened out where both sides have to end up paying for the ecosystem, or just to play online overall, unless you're playing free to play games. But it's just one of those things to where you're seeing the two different perspectives, and you're seeing this whole shift happen within the industry, right? Where people are like, Xbox, it's whatever, they do that thing over there. Where now it's like, oh man, well, you kind of need to be in that ecosystem if you were into these games. And the reach and the depth that these games have, the amount of hours that people have sunk into any of these games, you have at least 1 million hours worth of game time between all of these games for any one individual.
Especially Zemi, by the way, who has beaten Skyrim 17 times.
See, exactly. And that's what's an amazing thing to me, because as we enter further into this age of accessibility, it's going to be crazy to see, because it's not like, again, like when we talk about exclusives and everything, it's not like it's just on one box, or it's just in this place and that place. It's 4 different places. Not only can you get on your older hardware, you can also get on your PC. You can also get it on cloud. You can also get it on the next gen hardware. And you have accessibility options to play these games wherever you're at in the world, with so many options to play these games, and them opening up the library and adding more depth to the Game Pass library, because that's what they've overall done with this, to have consistent content as far as the WRPG side of it goes, to satisfy everyone over time. And now, are those hitter games right there right now? Yeah, not per se, depending on what you're into, but again, Starfield's right around the corner. The next Wolfenstein's right around the corner. Quake may be right around the corner. I mean, we're hearing rumors about that still being worked on. Deathloop just hit, even though it's exclusive to PlayStation for a year. It's coming to Xbox, and guess what? It's going to be in Game Pass. You're not going to have to pay for it, other than your $10 to $15 a month. There's so many positives that happened with this move, and I just feel like the biggest thing was Microsoft showing the world that gaming is a pillar of what we do here.
Yeah, I mean, I do fantastic point. Let's bring Pong Soul into the conversation. Pong, this is considered. You heard Zemi say it. You heard Steel Rain say it. This is by far the biggest WTF moment that I've experienced in 40 years of gaming. I mean, I've been gaming since 1978. I'm very happy to say so. That I've been a part of the conversation since it was Sticks and Blocks. And now we're looking at lifelike graphics. But in regards to mergers and acquisitions, and just changing the narrative with just literally one swoop, one knockout punch, this was a triumphant day for Xbox, for Microsoft, and all of its millions and millions of players who had to endure an entire 7-year generation of Xbox has no single player games, and more importantly, has no games, period. This was incredible. We have yet to see the fruits of the labor, so to speak. We're going to see that with Starfield. I mean, obviously, Game Pass got a boost with a lot of older games that jumped in there. But I don't think we see the fruits of this deal for the next year or so. And once they start hitting, once Fallout 5 starts hitting, once Starfield is out, once The Elder Scrolls 6 is out, and everything else, Doom next, and a new Quake, and they're all exclusive to the Windows platform, and more specifically Xbox, there is going to be a conversation, and I believe already the shift has begun. The shift in how people view the platform is been going on since this announcement. Where do you feel that announcement? How big was that announcement then? What it means now, and what do you think that these IPs mean for Xbox in the future?
Boom, I think you're trying to turn this into a living split screen show.
Well, you guys did.
We could
invade
sit
the
here.
podcast, so-
I know, but we can sit here and talk. This is a big one. Boom. All right,
Listen,
where to
this
begin?
is a conversational podcast.
Yes,
please
I know.
talk away.
Here. So look, this is going to the ZeniMax acquisition is going to define the generation. Okay, and I mean that. This is going to define this generation. And because it means, just like Steele was talking about, that Microsoft, again, Satya, we're talking about Satya, proved that they are all in, and that the mistakes of the past, the missteps of the past, are to be forgotten, and they are moving forward in a brand new direction, one that means that they are all in on gaming. They now see the gaming industry as a pillar of Microsoft Corporation. The ZeniMax purchase could not have gone down without that backing. All right, this is something that never would have happened in the old days of Donnie D and such, because it just wasn't in the cards for the corporation to go ahead and make this kind of commitment and take this kind of risk. And I say risk because this industry is full of risk. It's one of the riskiest businesses out there. We've seen, a lot of failures through all the decades. We've seen a lot of big companies come and go through the decades. Companies that you and I grew up on, Boom, no longer around, right? And we have seen that happen. We saw Sega, who used to be the kings, or one of two kings, if you count Nintendo in there, of the console industry, of the video game industry, fall by the wayside and become a shadow of its former self in a heartbeat. It took less than a generation for them to fall all the way from the top of the mountain down. Okay. So again, this is a big risk. The ZeniMax acquisition. Look, when I woke up that morning, and I was scrolling through Twitter, and obviously this was before I had jumped into the community as a podcaster. This is when I was just hanging out in chats all the time, which I still do as much as possible. But this is when I was just in there. I was scrolling through Twitter, and I was up in the kitchen getting ready for work, packing up my lunch. And I scrolled through Twitter. I had my food going, and I was packing up. I was dressed, unlike Zemi. So okay, nothing like that. So
we're not going to let this go, are we, guys? We're not going to let this go.
We'll let go. It was funny. It was funny. It was classic. So I was packing up my food, and I was scrolling through Twitter, and all of a sudden I'm like, what? And I scrolled back, and I'm like, what? I'm like, no. I'm like rereading it again. I'm like, are you kidding? They acquired the whole thing? Like I was like, wait, not just like partnership. This is like an actual, purchase. Like this is like they own them. They are now Xbox. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Of course, first thoughts in my head, Bethesda, God Howard. Oh my God, this is the best ever. I'm huge Elder Scrolls fan. Obviously, everything that they touch is gold for me. Fallout. I was like, this is all underneath Xbox now. And I let out a yell. My wife came running out of the bathroom. She thought I had done something. She thought I had cut myself with a knife or something. She's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm like, Xbox just bought ZeniMax. They just bought Bethesda. She gave me the roll of the eyes because she does not care about anything in the video game industry. And she's like, are you kidding me right now? And I'm like, no. And she went right back in the bathroom. It was a great, great day. But again, it will define this generation because it put Xbox in square on the path of climbing that mountain out of the hole that they had dug themselves of the Xbox One generation. And again, when you look at the Xbox One generation, they sold 40, 50 million consoles. It's not like a complete failure of a generation.
50 million of anything is
right. It's crazy, especially when they didn't have any first party studios up until they started making the purchases. But that was late in the generation. Those studios already had previous commitments. It's not like we saw a bunch of fruits of their labor coming out and helping Xbox at any point during the end of that generation. We still had the classics. We still had Gears. We still had Forza. We were waiting on a new Halo, right? So they didn't have anything going for them, and they still wound up selling 50 million consoles. So, but compared to what the PlayStation brand did, it looks like a complete failure. But they dug themselves a definite hole, and it was mindshare more than anything. Mindshare rules pretty much every industry. Why do you think people pay influencers on Instagram, right? Why do you think these influencers make 6-7 figures a year for pushing products? Because it's called mindshare. And you got to have that mind share in order to have a chance to dominate or to even compete in a consumer-based industry. And therefore, Microsoft had this huge hole. But when they bought ZeniMax, they dropped a bomb on the industry. And they let everybody know they are here. They are here to stay. And they're not even planning on staying. They're coming for the king, which is PlayStation right now of mindshare. Again, Nintendo's in their own pond, and Microsoft kind of is now at this point too. All three are kind of doing their own thing. But Microsoft, obviously, their main competitor in this space right now is PlayStation. The Amazons are out there. The Google was out there. That's no longer. Tencent's doing its thing. But really, Microsoft Xbox is on its own right with PlayStation. So they said they're coming, and they're not gonna play by the old rules. Right? They got Game Pass. They've got something that nobody else has. What do we need for Game Pass? That's our vehicle. We're driving up this mountain this time. We're not just climbing with ropes. We're actually going to drive, man. We got ourselves a rock climbing vehicle to move up this mountain, right? So what do we need to do? Well, we need content. We need content. We need consistent content. We need great content to get people to want to invest into this vehicle, to help us get this vehicle up this mountain. We need people to pack in here, unlike anything that we've seen before in this industry, because we're trying something brand spanking new. It's been done elsewhere in a fashion,
entertainment,
right? But here we are in this industry. As before. We can't engage on ecosystem so that they continue with that subscription process. What do? You go out and you make a huge statement with ZeniMax Acquisition. You get all of these studios in there making great games for your ecosystem and your ecosystem alone. And that means wherever Game Pass is, which is what Phil stated clearly. Wherever Game Pass is, you'll have access to these games. Now, we've seen some deals finish out here, Deathloop, and we got Ghostwire Tokyo coming up and that kind of stuff. Obviously, Fallout 76 is going to continue. ESO is going to continue on other platforms. But going forward, as the years go by, as these studios start making games exclusively for the Xbox ecosystem, Redfall next year, we're going to see this, right? That is going to start to add up. And like you said, Boom, we're not going to see it. We're not seeing it right away. It's going to be 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line. But by the end of this generation, when you throw Elder Scrolls 6 on there, whatever that's going to be, you're going to see a stack of high quality, high engagement content coming from some of the studios in the world. And that's going to put Xbox over the top when it comes to this. The acquisition also saved a lot of talent. The acquisition, we know for a fact that Arcane Leon was on the chopping block at one point, that they could have been dissolved, that we may never have gotten Deathloop. Yes, they could have placed it. They could have placed it with Arcane Austin, finished it off. That might have happened, but they might have scrapped the whole project, scrapped Leon, and all those talented devs that we just see put out a potential game of the year, getting 10s called masterpieces, people saying that they're going to be teaching level design from this game in schools going forward for the video game industry. You've got that type of game come out of one of just the smaller studios that people forget about out of this acquisition. Just imagine what we're going to get out of this.
To add to your point, Pong, I said this the other day. I says, this is a win-win-win scenario for both PlayStation and Microsoft, because here's why. PlayStation, if they don't have this game, all they have is Kena, right? Or Kena. They don't have a first-party banger this holiday. And this happens to be doing really well for them. It's a win for Microsoft because obviously this is a game that's selling based on its reviews. And it's a win once again for Microsoft because the sequel will eventually be a straight-up exclusive.
And they get to advertise it next year
Yeah.
When it drops into Game Pass, they get to put up all those scores everywhere and say, guess what? On top of Redfall, on top of Starfield in November, we're going to be dropping in this potential Game of the Year. They might even have Game of the Year awards at that point to advertise into Game Pass. Guess what? All you need is your subscription. You get to play this right out the gates. It's another added value. Anytime that you throw these kind of big games in there, it's just more value to the consumer. You have to build such a gigantic, and right now, for all of us, we can all sit here and safely say that this is the greatest value in video gaming, right? But we're not talking about us. We're not talking about the people already invested. We're not talking about the people who know or are in the know. We're talking about the normies out there. We're talking about the masses. That's where that mind share comes in. You got to reach those people that buy COD every year, that buy Madden every year, and then buy maybe one or two other games that their friends are playing, right? You got to grab those people and say, come on over and come in. Right? You got to try to work your way in and say, hey, we know you only play a couple games a year, but you might want to check this out because now that your friends are playing all these games, look, $10, $15 a month, you can go ahead and join in those games all the time. You don't have to worry about going out and making that purchase. You're just making the commitment to $10, $15 a month. You already do that on probably about 10, 15 other subscriptions you already have. What's the difference at this one, right? We have so much content here and your buddies are playing it. Why not come on over? That's where you grab that mind share, and you have to reach everybody because, again, the people in the back who still do not get it, Phil, Satya, they're not lying when they say they want to.
Oh, no, you're botting again, brother. Really bad. Sorry. Yeah, you were botting before, but it fixed itself. Now you're botting again. He's frozen.
He's lost too much hype.
Too much hype. Pong, back out and come back in and reset your computer maybe because now you're just frozen up on the screen. So Zemi, take a picture of that so you can say, hey, listen, you were frozen on the screen.
Oh, I want to so bad. Oh man, I want to. Here, hold up, stop. Shh. Okay.
Quiet.
I'm opening it up. New. Okay, I got it.
Next,
I got it.
Now it's forever yours. You know what? Let's get. He'll jump back in and give us his opinion. Mav, let's grab yours. This is still looked upon, at least in my eyes, as an unreal situation. Like, if you remember the conversation, Pong, there was talk for quite some time that Sony was going to buy ZeniMax. Remember that conversation? Because I certainly do. And that obviously did not happen. And, here we are 1 year later, and Microsoft acquired one of the biggest Western RPG developers in the history. And when, it's funny because, we look at Xbox Game Studios, but we never sit down and talk about specifics. When you look at the WRPG genre, some of the greatest games ever created were by three studios that Microsoft happens to be in their stable of RPG makers, and it's pretty incredible. Now that you add Bethesda to that conversation, where are your opinions on what happened then? Where do you feel they are now, and how impactful is this going to be for the future of Xbox gaming?
It's major. It's already seeing huge benefits, and way sooner than even I thought. Right? Yep. Because I remember when it happened, we're all super excited and like, oh my gosh, holy crap, is this real? Did this actually just happen out of nowhere? We're like, where was all the rumors? I remember the Sony stuff, but that was just like crazy speculative things. But then this actually happened with Xbox, and it's like, oh my gosh, okay, this is a legit thing. Xbox is going to have all these franchises and studios now as part of their first party portfolio. Right. And it was like the team just doubled overnight. Right. So already within the first year of that, we have like Pong was saying, a game of the year contender, a new IP. And this is from one of the studios that nobody was talking about. Right. Because people were like, oh yeah, Dishonored is cool, like Prey is cool, like they reviewed well, but nobody really likes them. Now Deathloop comes out and it's like, holy crap, this game is actually way better than for a lot of people, including me. Like I didn't really like Prey, I didn't really like Dishonored that much. But this game clicks with me, right? And it's a win right now for PlayStation as they get it for that year exclusive, but it's a bigger win for Xbox because in the future, all those games are going to be exclusive to the platform. They got another hit IP. So when you talk about all this Bethesda portfolio, now you can add Deathloop to the list of successes, right? It's paying dividends, and not just with the things we knew about. It's about the things that are still coming. Ghostwire Tokyo could be another smash hit. We don't know how that's going to be, but what if it's another Game of the Year contender when it comes out? Who knows, right? I think Deathloop caught a lot of people by surprise because when that came out, people were kind of like hadn't been talking about it as much. We saw it a lot. We're kind of like, okay, this game's coming out, and then it hit, and the reviews are going through the roof, right? So massive impact already and you go before when they acquired Double Fine. So 2 of the new acquisitions from the last couple years already have Game of the Year contender caliber titles coming out, right? This is the new Xbox.
Yep.
Right?
Indeed.
No longer can you say Xbox doesn't have Game of the Year contenders. They have 2 of the best rated games already this year, actually from their first party portfolio, right? Regardless if it's on PlayStation right now, it is an Xbox Game Studio game, and that is something to look forward to and putting and elevating that developer, that specific developer, as far as what we are thinking they're capable of now, right? So a huge win. We're going to see that continue and continue and continue. We still don't even know what Roundhouse Games is working on, right?
Yes.
That's another one. We know that they have something that they're working on. We know we got Starfield, which I remember last year when I was talking about Starfield and people were like, why are you excited about Starfield? You don't even know what it is. Man, I know it's a freaking Todd Howard game. That's all I need to know. Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Elder Scrolls Morrowind, Elder Scrolls Oblivion, Elder Scrolls
That's all
Skyrim.
you need to know.
That's all I need to know.
Yep.
And from his words himself, coming from a couple years ago, it was their next big single player RPG. That's all I needed to know. And it's the space, and this is their space game. They wanted to have their 3-pillar franchises. They wanted the Fallout, the post-apocalyptic game. They wanted the medieval like fantasy type game, and they wanted the space game, right? And this is their 3 pillars now, and they've been waiting to make Starfield. Starfield could be the biggest franchise after Halo that Xbox even owns. But we don't even know what it depends on how it's going to be, how it reviews, how it plays. But dude, we got Elder Scrolls, Fallout. It's absolutely amazing as when you go into just the RPGs alone.
Yeah.
Now because of that, because In Exile as well, right?
Yes.
I know I'm getting into studios that aren't even necessarily being part of them, but they all come from this like Western RPG forefather background, right? With Interplay, right? They have all these connections. Xbox is not just acquiring devs; they're acquiring some of the forefathers of the creation of genres,
Right.
like first-person shooters, Doom and Quake. They have some of the studios that are at the foundation of genres, is what they were acquiring with tech, with engines, and all of this stuff. This is going to be massive. This is the new Xbox. The investment is heavy. I just can't wait to see what else comes out of Bethesda and ZeniMax, especially after these 1-year deals are done, because they got more announcements to make. Bethesda is a studio that has been making and coming out with multiple titles a year, right? So who knows what the next announcement is going to be? There's going to be more Doom. I'm super excited for it. I think we're going to get another acquisition even. So it's just absolutely amazing. So I don't know if you're there, Boom. Are you
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. I just saw your camera go away, but yeah, dude, it's like absolutely mind-blowing to see the immediate impact and then think about how this is just going to unfold over the next few years, and just imagining how that's going to just expand on itself, right? And if y'all are excited now, even after just these games that have been coming out. Just wait till 2 years from now.
Yes.
When we've got to see even the big games. We haven't even seen
when you add to the conversation though, and this is going back to what Pong was saying, this is going back to what Steel Rain was saying, even Zemi Games. You just brought up In Exile along with Obsidian and now ZeniMax Bethesda as first party is just, it's mind blowing. It's just completely mind blowing. And each one of these teams, these studios, are not only making multiple games, they're making games that are going to be AAA level, and of course using the Unreal Engine 5. It's. I'll put it to this way again. I thought it was a stupid conversation back then. Xbox has no games when I had a backlog as tall as I am, and I'm 6 feet tall, right? So that's a lot of games to play. And now the studios, 23 of them with 36 plus teams making games, especially the one giant shot in the arm from the Bethesda deal. It's just we're a year later. We're celebrating a year of them being a part of Xbox Game Studio, and it still seems unreal to this day. And from what we understand, there's another Bethesda level acquisition coming. They didn't announce it on Monday like a lot of us thought that was going to be the case. Me and Zemi were talking. Zemi's like, hey, listen, if they make a big announcement, I'm all in on that show. And of course he would have been. And that didn't transpire. But that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I said it in the opening. It's not a matter of if at this point for Xbox and Satya Nadella and Phil Dominus Maximus Aurelius Spencer. It's just when at this point. Pong, you were biting out over there. You look like you're back to normal. Do you want to finish what you were saying?
Oh man, well I lost it all now. I was in the throes of passion with the ZeniMax and the acquisition. No, sorry about that, guys. Am I sounding better? Am I not?
Yeah, you're back to normal.
Oh yeah,
you're regular Pong. You're regular.
You sounded great.
But just so you know, Zemi did take a picture of you frozen. And
perfect. That's happened many times. Trust me. Nav's got probably a whole portfolio of pictures.
It's one of our emojis. Actually,
there you go.
No, I think everybody's probably covered at this point. Again, what I was saying was that at the end of the day, when you get a acquisition like ZeniMax, and I just heard Mav talking about the collection of talent there, that can do nothing but drive that vehicle, which is Game Pass forward, as you just get the word out there. And I think they've started that with the whole exclusive thing, pushing it really hard at E3 to make sure everybody was aware that Starfield is exclusive, that Redfall is exclusive. And I think once you break through that barrier as word of mouth spreads, because make no mistake, the more people that invest into your ecosystem, the more they talk about it, the more that the social media is shared about where they're playing and what they're doing, that builds outwards. It's like, it's like throwing a rock in a pond. Those rings eventually, start hitting more and more people. And we started to see that over in Japan, right? You could see social media nowadays with a lot of different Japanese or seemingly Japanese accounts posting a lot of stuff about Series X and Series S purchases and what they're playing. And we've heard that's taken hold over there, and they actually do have, a much better purchase rate at this point, than they have in the past. And so I think that same thing happens here in the West, again, as they try to just grab a piece of that big pie that PlayStation has, but also, as we've talked about in the past, they no longer think of themselves as just trying to grab a piece of the pie. They're going to try to be the whipped cream on top of the whole pie, right? They're going to try to be that ice cream that you scoop all over the top of the pie, because they simply ask you to join Xbox Game Pass and you can play it anywhere you want to. You don't have to have a console. And by the end of the year, once xCloud can be streamed to the old consoles, and once they have apps on TVs, and we already know that they're pushing the phone development, obviously, and using using Game Pass off your phone over in the East, because that's the biggest market over there in South Korea, and China and those types of places. You're not going to even have to invest that much to get in. all you're going to have to do is see a game that you want to play, or 3 games that you want to play, or that Starfield sitting there that you want to sink $300 into, and you're just going to have to purchase Xbox Ultimate. That's all you're going to have to do. Or Game Pass for $10, $15, maybe a streaming stick. If they come out with the streaming stick that we've heard about, they're going to make it so
going to be announced
easy.
soon, as a matter of
Right.
fact.
Yeah.
Right. They're going to make it so easy for those 2 billion, 3 billion people to come on in. That's the difference. They're no longer fighting over just the pie anymore. They are now the whole topping of everything. They want it all. Right. And that's where they're moving towards. That's why the ZeniMax acquisition was such a bomb to the industry. It was earth shattering. It's the first of what I think is going to be multiple bombs through this generation. I think, over the next 2 to 3 years, for everybody who hates acquisition talk, buckle up, because Sony's not going to stop. Xbox isn't going to stop. Embracer Group's not going to stop. Tencent's not going to stop. We're seeing consolidation. It's going to happen over the next 2 to 3 years, and then we'll start to see it slow down after everybody's kind of had their fill. We'll probably see it slow down a little bit, but for the meantime, Xbox in particular, they've come out and told you what they're going to do. That's why there's so much acquisition talk all the time. They've told us what they're going to do. We know it's coming. It's not if, it is now when.
Yes.
And the ZeniMax deal was the first shot. Right. That was that first shot. So I can't wait to see. Like I said, it's going to define this generation. It's going to define Xbox. And by the end of this generation, which I think is going to be the longest generation we've seen, I see this thing going 10 years plus with the way the chip shortages and then we get a mid-gen refresh. I see this going 10 years plus. Xbox at the end of this, you're going to look back and go, man, that ZeniMax deal was what started it all. That's the one that really set it off. Yeah, they made some great purchases, Obsidian, In Exile, those kind of purchases. Those are going to bear fruits that nobody was expecting down the road. Those studios are going to become known as some great studios in the industry. They already are, but they're going to take it to the next level underneath Xbox, I believe. But at the end of the day, that ZeniMax acquisition is the one that everybody's going to point to and go, man, if we should have probably heard that shot. We should have known they were coming, because that's what it's going to be. Yeah.
One studio that we all keep not even talking about with all this stuff is Machine Games.
Machine Games,
and they have probably over the next couple of years 2 major games coming, and that's with the next Wolfenstein, and then Indiana Jones. Right. So, and if you want to get excited a little bit about Indiana Jones, just let me tell you something. Right. Okay. Machine Games was founded by the same founder as Starbreeze Studios. And if you want to know about being able to work on existing IP based on movies or whatever, they made Escape from Butcher Bay.
Yes, they did.
Chronicles
that was Starbreeze, correct.
Right? Yep. Same, the core group from those Starbreeze teams is what formed Machine Games. And then they worked on another existing IP and Wolfenstein and brought it back from the ashes to make it a huge popular franchise again, right? To think that they are not going to be successful with Indiana Jones would be a very, very big oversight, and that they're going to have probably 2 of the biggest games coming from that whole portfolio in the next 2 years.
Yep. So. And speaking of Indiana Jones, that's a game I believe is going to be exclusive. I know a lot of people will push back against that and say, oh, no, boom, Disney would never allow Microsoft to take an IP and hold it behind the studio, behind their paywall of Xbox. All you got to do is look at Spider-Man and Wolverine. And I know that deal, we can go down that deep, dark rabbit hole about how it's baked into the contract of the deal between Disney and Marvel to keep Spider-Man in the MCU. And you might be correct. I'm 100% correct that we'll never know unless we read the contract. But Indiana Jones is a major IP. We've seen some artwork that was put out there. It appears that it's going to be third person, which is what I'm hoping. It appears it's going to be very Tomb Raider-esque, which is what you would imagine. The 4 shots that I saw looked breathtaking. This is going to be a world hopping adventure. You're not going to be in one country. You're going to be in several countries, very similar to Tomb Raider. And that's coming from a Microsoft first party studio. We don't know where it is, but we know it's being directed by God Howard, who is an incredibly huge Indiana Jones fan, so much so that in his interviews he's usually sitting in the room, because I'm sure he has a mansion that has all the props from the film. I mean, who better to direct the game than Todd Howard? Listen, folks, I have 2 super chats to catch up, and then we're going to get to the outros because we are running. Usually it's anywhere between an hour and 45, 2 hours, and I think we've hit on all these the points, and I really want to get everyone their proper outro. We had Gerald Mack, which is a super chat that I missed. Thanks, Zemi Games. He drops an outstanding additional $5 super chat and says, "No one should be attacked for wanting to play a game if that's what you want to do to enjoy." To enjoy it, it says enjoy it like I just went past it. Sorry about that. YouTube being crummy again. Where are you? It says if that's what you want to do, if you want to do, enjoy it like you always have. It is my opinion, and that's fantastic. We also have Crazy Lou drops an outstanding $5 of Genesis. Take a picture and make a sticker or a meme of Pong. And that could probably already been done already. Kirby Louise drops an outstanding and very generous $10 super chat. Says, don't wait for the Xbox streaming stick. You can get a Raspberry Pi and a cool case, mini NES, mini Genesis, mini Sega Saturn, or mini Dreamcast, etc. right now and run Android and Linux on it. I mean, it's true. You could. I have a Raspberry Pi and I got all my arcade games from the 90s in there when Capcom was fantastic, when they made all those, like Aliens versus Predator, my favorite side-scrolling beat-em-up game that a lot of people probably haven't played. But listen, folks, we had almost 400 people here. That's a big deal for a small show. I hope you enjoyed our conversation on a serious subject to open up the show. And then, of course, the back end, the fun, the celebration of Bethesda being first party. It was a big deal back in 2020. It is a big deal in 2021. And I think, folks, I honestly think that it's going to be even bigger in 22, 23, and 24 moving forward. Like Steel Rain said, Xbox is in a position right now of power. A lot of people don't see that because you may be just a PlayStation gamer and you say, well, Xbox makes games that I don't like. And if that's the case, and that's fantastic to have that opinion. But the power I'm talking about is in a genre that is a big piece of the industry, and that is the Western RPG era. And as we know, Phil Spencer has made these trips, over a dozen of them, as we know, to Japan, to Korea, to places in the West that specialize in JRPGs. And one of the big announcements coming for Tokyo Game Show, which is at the end of the month, is I believe Persona is going to be announced not only in Xbox Game Pass, but it's going to be coming to the platform for the first time ever. It seems like it's a perfect setting. And once Microsoft can get that foot in the door with all of these JRPG makers that usually pick Sony first, and now they're coming multi-plat or even getting some deals on their own, Microsoft is going to be in an even bigger position of power, because not only are they going to be able to get the JRPGs that Sony players were getting that we weren't, but they also are going to be the masters, the kings, if you will, of the Western RPG conversation. And that is pretty epic considering where they were pre E3 2018 as opposed to post E3 2018. But we're going to get at the outros. We'll start first with Steel Rain. Dude, it was great to work with you. The invasion of course, Living Split Screen was a success, and I'm glad that we're all still standing. Thanks so much for being here, brother. Please sell your brand. Tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media, but more importantly, check out your Saturday morning show.
For sure, man. One thing I want to touch on before I jump knee deep into that. You said something that was very interesting to me, Boom, and it's something I've kind of been adamant about over the last few months or so, especially as we've been rolling into our own show with Living Split Screen, is that Xbox's form of exclusivity is very different than the regular form of exclusivity. Being able to access your games on 4 different versions, possibly 5 different versions of a platform, at that point, Is it really exclusive, or are they just expanding themselves out? I just want people to keep that in mind, because there's a bigger play that's happening, and we are in the golden age of gaming, not only as my guy Pong likes to say, but we're also in the age of accessibility, and I don't want people to forget that. With that being said, every Saturday morning, you can find myself and my brother from another, Pong Soul, at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. UK time on Living Split Screen, where we give you a non-console-centric platform that talks about everything within the gaming space. Not only that, but we also put a little personal touch on it, and it's amazing to me that week by week, how me and Pong would love to sit back and spend more time on really, working in the background and putting our shows together and everything. But one of the things I pride ourselves in is the organic nature, the energy, the vibe that we overall bring out, and the fact that it's natural. It's not forced. It's not, we're not trying to be something that we're not. This is who we are organically, and it's probably why we can't have less than a 3-hour show at this point. With that being said, you can find me, Steel Rain, the T is a 7 everywhere. If you have a search bar, type it in, you'll probably find me. That's Twitter, YouTube, Xbox, PlayStation, whenever I end up getting one, when they give me a reason to buy one, and then also PC within the PC space. Hit me up in the DMs. I recently found out that my DMs were locked. I don't know how that happened, but shoot me up in the DMs. Let's get together. Let's talk some games. Let's talk life, whatever you want to talk about, man. Again, this is a hobby that I feel like everyone should enjoy. I'm glad that we can get together and have adult conversations like we did in the beginning. And at the end of the day, I just want everybody to see the bigger picture. It's about the 3 billion, not the 300 million that we're currently capped at. So.
Yeah, no, great stuff as always, and definitely appreciate you being here. Zemi Games. Let's get to you, brother. Please, by all means, tell everyone about your incredible website known as The Constant Gamer. Tell people about your YouTube channel that if they're not already subscribed, can subscribe to. And where can people reach out to you and potentially send you pictures of them in their underwears in their bed? Very important.
Did you say me send somebody a picture?
No. Other people will send them to you. You won't send them.
Okay. Everyone listening right now, do not, I repeat, do not send me any picture of you in underwear or without underwear or any, just if you're not fully clothed, don't send me a picture. Okay. Let's just say that.
That was facetious, folks. It wasn't meant as real. Do not send
covered all the bases.
You pictures of Semi in your tighty whities. Don't do it.
Yes. Can you erase that message I just sent you, Zemi?
Mav, come on, man. No, you actually, real quick, I don't want to deviate us onto like a new topic or anything, but you mentioned Tokyo Game Show, and I actually have been thinking for like the last couple of days, and I want to say it on the show, that way if it happens, I can be like, haha, I'm right. What if Xbox is acquiring a Japanese company? How awesome would it be if they announced that acquisition of that Japanese company at the Tokyo Game Show?
It would be legendary, Sammy.
That would be something else.
You know, it's funny. As many shows as I do, as many scripts as I write, that actually never came across my brain pan. Like I mean, because what the picture you're painting is, I mean, if you're going to announce that you acquired X Japanese studio or publisher, whatever, what bigger stage than the Tokyo Game Show? That is fantastic. And again, obviously, if that does happen, we will be calling. We're saying, listen, go watch this podcast because Zemi said it first.
Yeah, that's why I had to say it before I go. Now I'm probably gonna be wrong, but you know, it is what it is. Anyway, you guys can check out my YouTube channel. It's called Constant Gamer. I post a bunch of gaming news, reviews, tutorials.
But more importantly, your guides are amazing, dude. Like the way your guides are just legendary, honestly.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And all that's on YouTube. Once again, it's called Constant Gamer. Hop over to the channel, watch some content. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. If you don't, then just leave the channel and never come back. And then you guys can also check me out on Twitter. It is at ZeniMax. My DMs are open. So if you like something I said on today's show, absolutely hated it, you know, send me a message, let me know. Let's have a conversation. Anyway, boom. Thank you so much, man. As always, I will see you next Tuesday.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. And again, once I get the information on the Tokyo Game Show, we'll decide whether or not we're going to be able to cover it. We may be doing a post show conversation, because I believe that it's in Japan, so their time zones are way different than ours, and I believe it would be 6 a.m. our time when we would try and cover it. So we'll probably just cover the aftermath of it more than likely on one show or another. Let's get to Mav, our other guest. Mav, thank you and you're not really a guest anymore. You're really just a part of the show because you're here more often than you're not. Please, brother, sell your brand. Tell everyone about the incredible shows that you have. And you have quite a few of them with more to come. And also, where could people subscribe to your YouTube channel?
This was a lot of fun again today, Boom. Awesome thoughts on all this stuff. Great conversations. Hey guys, tune in to Fun Speculation on YouTube, where you can find me, Mav, and the Magazine 7 on Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, where we like to talk about all things Xbox, having a blast. That's a fun show that we do Fridays. It's just family atmosphere.
Yep.
Although there are a family atmosphere with F-bombs. It's like
left turns.
It sounds like my family.
It sounds like great point. I mean, that's kind of real families. I mean,
it's a real family atmosphere, right? Then we got Fun Pop Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about Marvel, DC, all this stuff. And I'm trying to get my wife Kate to be on the show tomorrow, so that way we can deep dive into Star Wars stuff, because I got her to watch her first 2 Star Wars movies.
Nice, dude.
And I think I'm gonna get her to watch the 3rd tonight. I'm crossing my fingers that it was gonna happen, but look out for that. And then hey, like Boom said, something else is coming. I'm gonna make an announcement on that soon. So appreciate that. And I'm always streaming, guys, on the YouTube channels. It also goes to Twitch and also Twitter until they shut down Periscope eventually. I don't know when that's going to happen. But yeah, check that out. I'm always streaming just whatever. I'm probably going to get Kana today. I want the game, so I think I'm going to do that. So yeah, I appreciate everybody. Twitter, Fun Speculation, YouTube, Fun Speculation. That's where to find me.
Nice. And last and in no way least, my brother from another, Pong Soul. By all means, brother, please tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media, but more importantly, sell people on Living Split Screen. Why should they tune on Saturday? Because I know I'm always there while I'm making breakfast after our hike from Mr. and from Mrs. BoomStick and myself, and I'm always listening and lurking in the background. I think you guys have an incredible show, but more so an incredible dynamic, which I think people should tune in for. Talk about it, brother.
Appreciate it, Boom. Obviously, what a great show. Hey, brothers, Zemi, Steel, Mav, just a great show today, guys. Really happy to see you all here. Love these Tuesday shows. Chat, you guys were amazing. Good talk. Again, adults. We can all talk about this stuff. It was a great conversation. Appreciate the chat. Maintaining that, whether we disagree, agree, or not. Appreciate all of you. Again, that's what makes these shows go, is having a chat around. So appreciate all of you. Nothing but love and respect. But love and respect for all of my brothers on this panel, starting with Boom. This was a great show. I couldn't ask for a better Tuesday start. So, hey, look, you guys can find me, Pong Soul, Xbox, Twitter. You know the drill. I'm always there. Busy as all get out, but DM me and I'll try to get back to you. So find me there. Otherwise, Mav covered Friday nights and our dysfunctional family over there on Xbox Ultimate. So come join us there, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. It is a good time. We've got some members out, but Mav's always filling in with great, fantastic guests. So just drop by and check us out. We just have one heck of a time over there. Saturday mornings, my hype man Steel already took most of this. Look, Living Split Screen, Steel and I just rock and roll. We have so much passion for this industry. What you see is what you get from him and I. We don't change. No matter what show you go on, you're going to see us this way. We just love talking about this industry. And I got to give a quick shout out to Midweek Mix-Up Collective, Wandering Dutch, good friend of the show here. Boom, he's on Pride Time. Yes. Look, we joined the Midweek Mix-Up Collective, because there's such a great group of people just in general over there. But look, Wandering Dutch has put up a contest for a custom Xbox Series or PlayStation 5 controller once Steele and I hit 400 subs. We just passed 300. I saw Steele's. I was already in bed, but Steele posted it last night that we had passed 300 subs.
Were you naked, though, is what people want to
know. No, I was not. No, I was not. Good. And so he's put up this fantastic contest. So go check out Wandering Dutch's Twitter, Midweek Mix-Up Collective. Both Steele and I have retweeted it. 400 subs. He's going to give away either an Xbox Series or a PlayStation 5 custom controller. If you've seen his work, it is fantastic. It is phenomenal. Good.
Yeah.
Yes. It's hand done art. It's just absolutely beautiful what he does. So shout out to him. But yeah, come check us out. Living Split Screen every Saturday morning. Set your alarm. You don't have to be awake. Trust us. We're going to supply the energy. You don't have to contribute. Just listen on in. We love you all for doing so. Just come on by and check us out there. And then the Shop Podcast on Saturday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time over on PTK Blam's channel with Centurion and Fuzzy Belvedere. Come check us out there. Again, just a great laid-back show. And this week on Saturday, we got royalty over at the shop because Lord Cognito is going to be in the house. Going to be an awesome show. So come check us out there, the Shop Podcast. But otherwise, it's the golden age of gaming. Don't forget it. This is a great time. We can still have topics that are kind of messy. We can have topics that aren't so fun. But look, you should be enjoying all the content because there's something for everybody right now, and it's only going to get bigger. So play what you love what you play. I'm going to talk to you all real soon.
Thank you so much for that. And of course, obviously, folks, thank you so much for being here. Over almost 400 people. Thank you for the super chats that came in. They were passionate. It's greatly appreciated. And of course, me and Mrs. BoomStick are going to turn those into gifts for the community. And I just want to take the time to say that this Friday is the Boom's birthday bash. On Breakfast with Boom, we have an all-star panel, which I will be making the announcement. Mrs. Boom and I have decided, and this is the 4th year running, we're giving $350+ worth of video game gift cards and other peripherals away. And all you got to do, folks, is show up. That's it. If you are a channel member, you get an extra entry. If you drop a super chat, you get an extra entry, and you open up the better chances for you to give away. One of the major prizes is a flight stick, a brand new flight stick, along with a copy of Microsoft Flight Simulator. That is a big prize, along with a bunch of gift cards that we're giving away. And it's just our way of saying thank you for not only being a part of letting us be a part of your lives each and every week, but celebrating my 51st birthday, which will be on Saturday. And again, all you got to do is show up and be a part of the conversation. And you got a shot. The picker, I don't pick them, folks. The picker does it, and you could be one of the people that get a big prize. And can't wait for that show. And obviously, we'll be back again here on Thursday with the other panel for the Xbox Factor podcast, and I'm looking forward to talking more. I'm working on that show as we speak, but thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting Double Barrel Gaming, and of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you, and that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids, and he said, son, treat others how you want to be treated, and also it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you on Thursday's new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast.